What is up, and welcome back to the 4-8 Podcast. Today, my guest is my good friend from college, Bradley Northcutt. Bradley's a husband, an entrepreneur. He was a groomsman in my wedding, and I was a groomsman in his. It's always nice when it's reciprocated, and he's just one of my best buddies. So, Bradley, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Cree. I appreciate it. I'm excited to talk on the podcast.
I'm excited to have this conversation, man. Well, I just brought up the groomsman thing, and I hate it because you were able to be a groomsman in my wedding, but I was sadly unable to attend yours due to the birth of Honey. So
you're a groomsman in spirit.
I was a groomsman in spirit. I really was, and I felt honored that I was not replaced. At least I wasn't replaced, was I?
No.
There you go. That's awesome.
You weren't replaced.
I love it.
Well, I was at 14. I had 13. So
there you go. Well, when I was prepping this, because usually, like all my friends that I've had on, I've like remember some how we met, but then others I like completely don't remember how we met. Do you know how we ever met? Because I really can't really remember.
I was actually thinking about that this morning. We met our freshman year of college.
Well, I know that. I just don't remember the setting of it.
Well, we were in the same fraternity, obviously. I mean, take that as you will.
You were a spring pledge, though.
Yeah, I was a spring pledge. So we met in the fall, but I feel like we didn't really begin our friendship until spring semester of our freshman year. So spring of 2017 is when we met. And we had a night where we went and we were hunting at night down at our farm in Macon County.
I do remember that.
We almost sunk Sage's Jeep in the mud.
Was that before or after our Krispy Kreme journey? It's funny because this is a fitness podcast, but we're talking about Krispy Kreme donuts. Remember our freshman year?
Yeah, well, I still eat my fair share of Krispy Kreme.
Well, Krispy Kreme. So every night, well, not every night. This is maybe like once or twice a week, maybe 3 times.
Maybe 3 times.
We'd go to the Krispy Kreme, and like every night, if you don't know this about Krispy Kreme, every night they throw away all their donuts that no one ate for the day. So
every single one of them.
We got to be good friends with this lady that worked at Krispy Kreme. And if you happen to listen to this podcast and you work at Krispy Kreme, maybe not. But you would like throw all their donuts away, and we got to be good friends with this lady. And she would she would box up all the leftover donuts and just kind of like leave them by the trash, and we would come in and just take them instead of getting them in the dumpster. So really, we weren't dumpster diving because they were beside the dumpster.
Well, the first time we did it, I remember we watched her. She walked out this huge bag. I mean, on a cart, basically.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of donuts. I mean, probably 400 or 500 donuts. She put them out right as they hit the ground. We sped up, and she called us the first time.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, we're going to get in Krispy Kreme trouble by this lady that's setting out the donuts by the dumpster. But then she gave us her number. I mean, and we just started texting her when we wanted to go get Krispy Kreme donuts, and she would just meet us out back.
We did get her number.
Yeah, I think we only picked them up off the ground one time.
Yeah, that's true.
Because after that, I mean, she just handed us bags of donuts.
Speaking of donuts, you can put down some donuts.
I can put down a lot of donuts. I still can. That's not changed.
But you're losing weight, which is great. And I want to get into that more later because I have you've had more fitness journeys than anyone I've ever met. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have that conversation later.
I'm excited to answer questions.
Oh my gosh! Well, I want to really start with obviously we kind of just mentioned, but we got super close throughout college, and really throughout. I mean, all of my friends, you really are one of the main people who, if someone has something go wrong or if someone needs you, you would drop anything and go help that person. And I can just even remember when me and Sadie moved to Auburn, and you basically moved, our whole house in for me, which was very, very kind, and helped me put all my Ring doorbell stuff in. But for you, like, where does that come from? Like, because most people, yes, can be servant-hearted, but at the same time, they might not get up at 2 a.m. and come help someone who's in trouble or, who needs someone. So where does that come from for you? Just the servant mentality and wanting just to drop anything and go help people?
Well, one, I love you guys. I mean, I just wanted to help out however I could. And Sadie was obviously making a transition to Auburn right when you guys got married, which then COVID started soon after that.
Yeah, it was a wild ride.
Just a few months after. But yeah, one, it was just out of my love for you guys and just wanting to help. But I feel like a lot of that developed just from watching my dad growing up. My dad he just has such a servant's heart and really loves people well by doing things for others. And he does so joyfully I feel like there's a big difference in how you can do something for somebody, but my dad has always really approached people and serving them joyfully. And that's something that I learned from him early on.
Yeah. Well, I want to, because I mean, honestly, man, every time we talk, you're one of those people who, like, every time we have a conversation, God is teaching you something new. And I feel like I'm always super continuous. You know, it could be 6 months or a year, and I'm like, well, you know, God is still teaching me patience or whatever, X, Y, and Z. And I feel like every time we talk, it's you somehow have these new revelations, and God's teaching you all these new stuff, which is very encouraging and very inspiring. So what do you feel like right now, just with the season that you're in, and you know, you're a few years into marriage and just work and all the stuff you have going on, what do you feel like God's teaching you right now?
Well, I know I texted you a few days ago. Right now, just the difference in being content and being comfortable. Auburn, I mean, you know Auburn well, and for anyone listening to this podcast, Auburn, it's a wonderful place, and it's a place where the Lord's doing a lot of really cool things right now. But it definitely is an easy place to get comfortable. Life a lot of times is easy. So really differentiating between what it looks like to be content in the Lord versus being comfortable. And being comfortable is not necessarily a good thing. But being content in the Lord is, and being content in the Lord is not contingent on your financial situation or your status or whatever else. It's contingent on Jesus and Jesus alone. Right. So that's something that it's a daily battle right now, just with being in the business world, what it looks like to be truly content in Jesus, being truly content in who he says that I am, through the promises of Scripture. But yeah, it's an everyday battle, just fighting, being comfortable and slipping into a season of comfort and the mindset of being comfortable versus just truly being content in the Lord. So that's one big thing he's teaching me right now is what that looks like to be comfortable. To be content in a place it's easy to get comfortable. And I feel like lately that's come in conversations. I was blessed to do 2 summers through Campus Crusade in East Asia, and just doing college ministry with Chinese students. And we were sharing the gospel with students every day. And I feel like conversationally coming back into my regular everyday life here in Auburn, it's really easy. The temptation's easy to avoid conversation about the Lord and having conversations that may be harder, or just meeting with non-believers in general. So that's one way I've been challenged in being content with the Lord, is not being comfortable or getting this routine of being comfortable just eating and hanging out with all the same people, where I'm not being challenged in conversation, but really meeting with people with a purpose, and that purpose mainly being just to share the gospel and love of Jesus.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's been easier to slip into that comfortability when you were single or being married?
Being married.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. Definitely being married. We've almost been married 2 years now. May will be 2 years. And I've realized through marriage how selfish I am. Selfishly, I want to be comfortable. And that comes out in how I pursue Claire, my wife, at times. But the last 2 years have been really refining in that way. Being content in the Lord and learning to pursue her well in our marriage. And also, marriage being our primary place of ministry, but also ministry outside of our marriage, just in relationships that we have with different friends and in the workplace here in Auburn.
Yeah, it's so weird. It really was so much more easier for me not to be comfortable when I was single, or not even necessarily single, but even when I was dating Sadie, versus now, like, you can get in these patterns and these habits where it really is like a cycle of just comfortability and just wanting to be comfortable, and binge watching Netflix or whatever it might be. It really is, at least for me, so much easier to be comfortable now than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, and I found that similarly in our marriage as well. It is easy to just go through the motions, and I don't want to go through the motions. And a lot of times looking down the road, when I'm 70, 80, 90 years old, I want to be able to look back and know that right now at 25, I'm pursuing my wife well and intentionally. And I talked to a guy a few weeks ago that I never met before. He called me on the phone, and he ended up sharing the gospel with me on on the phone. He had no clue if I was a believer. He's in real estate, which I'm in Auburn. He lives in Montgomery down the road. And he just shared the gospel with me, and it blew me away. I was like, you don't know who I am at all. And he so boldly proclaimed his faith, and which is awesome. We had a great conversation about it. But one thing he mentioned about marriage was what it looks like to play with your spouse and having things that you both enjoy doing together. And for Claire and I right now, that's playing pickleball. We love playing pickleball together. Unfortunately, she beats me a lot of the time.
She beats you?
Which is not very enjoyable. She's pretty good. She's pretty good at pickleball.
Come on, Brad.
And she takes it to me. But finding activities to do together has been something that's been really great for our marriage lately, and something we want to continue in.
That's awesome. So if you listen to this podcast, or if you follow me on social media, then obviously you know that I'm a huge fan of ice baths, and specifically Ice Barrel. So Ice Barrel has become one of my main things that I do for my training routine. I usually get in the cold tub after I work out, really just because it helps reduce inflammation for me. So a few months ago when I did that challenge that you may or may not know about, the Ice Barrel was huge for me when I would need to recover. It became my main training tool after I would run, or after I'd have a heavy squat session or a lifting session, whether it was, heavy front squats or heavy back squats or even bench press. If I get in the cold tub after I have a heavy lifting session, I really do feel like it helps me with my pain management. My inflammation is down, and it really just helps me recover faster for what I need to do. And what I love about Ice Barrel specifically is how when I get in the Ice Barrel, I can sit upright, which helps my breathing. And I love how portable it is. It just sits on my back porch, and I fill it up with ice, fill it up with water. And when I want to flush it out, I just use the spigot on the bottom, and it drains it. And I just love the design of it. It's made in the USA from 100% recycled material. And if you're not convinced yet, then with one session of Ice Barrel, you could experience improved mood and brain function, and help alleviate any depression or anxiety or heart rate variability. And I worked with Ice Barrel to help get y'all $125 off so that you can try it out and see if you like it as much as I do. I threw a link in the show notes, and you'll see me sharing more on social media too. You can go to icebarrel.com/Christian and use code Christian to get $125 off. Ice Barrel offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's icebarrel.com/Christian and use code Christian to get $125 off. Get colder, feel better, and let me know what y'all think. Well, do you feel like that guy shared the gospel with you because he felt like he needed to? Because
maybe
you're doing some shady business.
First part of our conversation,
doing some shady business. Like, this guy needs the gospel.
Well, it all started. We talked about real estate, then we talked about turkey hunting, which maybe we'll get into later. But yeah, then it just ended up. He really shared his testimony and what the Lord's done in his life and in his marriage, and just in his business, and how his business has been his place of ministry. So it was really encouraging.
That's so funny. I don't know if I've ever had. Obviously I've had people preach the gospel to me, but I'm trying to think if somebody out of the blue was like, "Hey, I want to share the gospel with you," I think I would be like, have they seen me? Like, have I been doing something wrong? Like, have I been does it look like I need the gospel? Maybe not. I don't know.
What it did for me, honestly, he lives in Montgomery, and we know mutual people. So maybe somebody in Auburn is ratting me out to this guy that doesn't know me. But it really was challenging. It challenged me, to want to be more bold in my faith, and just, how I talk about the Lord. I feel like a lot of times I'll segment my relationship with Jesus and the workplace when the two go hand in hand. Like, I want my business to be a primary place of ministry in my life. And oftentimes I'll find myself being convicted of that not being the case. And not that I'm not glorifying the Lord in how I'm going about business, but just the lack of openly talking about Jesus and what he's doing is one way that conversation with this gentleman really challenged me a few weeks ago. I was like, wow, this guy boldly talks about his love for the Lord and what he's done in his life. And it really encouraged me to do the same thing.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have been able to do that? Just with your job and what you do you feel like you have been able to, share your faith, or even just live out in a way that people are, compelled to that?
It's been awesome. There have been spurts in the last few years, just through the Lord teaching me different things, with what I do in real estate. I mean, I'm on the phone a lot with different people, and most of the time, any transaction I'm in lasts, 30 to 45 days, I'd say on average. Some a little bit, some shorter, some longer, but like I have the ability to really dive deep in a relationship with somebody for a month to a month and a half, typically, and being able to help people in some type of transition, whether they're selling a home or they're buying a new home. In most cases, people that I work with are in some type of transition. So it definitely has opened the door to really, be there to encourage whoever I'm working with, and also and serve a need that they have in that moment, but also then share my faith as well.
Yeah, that's so good. How do you feel like, just talking about contentment and being comfortable, how do you feel like, maybe when you're slipping into being more comfortable, how do you feel like that impacts, because that can impact so much stuff, right? That can impact, your business, that can impact your marriage, that can impact
For sure.
you getting up and going to the gyms. How do you feel like, the more content you are and the less comfortable you are, how do you feel like your relationships thrive, your marriage thrives, your discipline thrives as well?
Yeah. Well, on the front end of that, I mean, when I'm slipping into being comfortable, and really, whether I realize it or not, I mean, it's all rooted in pride. It's all rooted in me really wanting to fulfill the selfish desires that I have before anything else. So I will say, my pursuit of my wife on the front end of this, my pursuit of Claire, is selfish and oftentimes not honoring, which leads to, selfish conversation and friendships that I have. And they can be subtle. And typically it comes out more in my relationship with Claire than anybody else. But she's so solid, and she really does challenge me and encourage me. And she sees me in moments like that, and she's not afraid to call me out and, point out where I am and what she feels like I'm struggling with. And one thing I've had it's been really tough. When she tells me I'm being prideful, that is, it really flusters me when she says that.
And it's the worst.
She's not wrong. Yeah, it's not wrong. She's right. And it really, through that, she's really encouraging and challenges me to really look deeper into where my heart is. But then in that transition of really walking in contentment and walking joyfully with the Lord, I pursue my wife so much more selflessly and intentionally, and and as far as my relationship with the Lord goes, which drives all of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really in spurts of truly being content. I'm seeking Jesus, rather than just seeking to know more, if that makes sense. Like, just in my time with the Lord, like if I'm slipping into a season or a state of comfort, I will still have quiet times and I'll spend time with the Lord, but typically it is more selfishly motivated, in the sense of just wanting to know more for the sake of knowing more, not spending time with Jesus for the sake of spending time with Jesus, mm-hmm. because of who he is. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I am proud of you for not being prideful, especially when you let her beat you in pickleball. So she should be grateful for that.
Yeah, it's pickleball can be a sore subject sometimes around our house.
That's why we play card games. Good. I get so flustered playing, these stupid card games, and like I just get so competitive, and so I can get very arrogant with like card games. Like the other day, we were playing poker, and it was with our friends. So if you are listening to this and you don't like poker, then I don't know, whatever. So we were playing poker, and I went all in, right? It was like, I think I maybe had like $5 left. The buy-in was 20. So nothing crazy. And on the river, a 9 comes out, right? I flop a straight. No, I flop a flush. And I was like, I went all in, but I had went all in before I thought Sadie had checked, or I thought she was out or whatever. And she was like, I haven't done yet. And I was like, well, because I'd flipped my cards over, and I was like, well, it doesn't matter anyways, because, I just won this hand. And she was like, you don't know that. And I was like, I was so hesitant, because I was like, I have a flush. And then she flops like a king queen flush. And I can't remember what it was, but it was like, she just waxed me. And I was like, I went downstairs and I just need 20 minutes of like, I can't see anybody. Cause I was so embarrassed and I was honestly just like so ticked off. Cause I was like, I literally, like, it's like 7 of our friends, and I'm like chirping back at Sadie cause she's like, well, I didn't check or I didn't call or whatever. And I was like, whatever, here are my cards. And then it was like, okay, then she went all in, and I was like, oh crap. And then it was just so embarrassing. And then I came back up, and I was just like a sore loser. So then we had a conversation about me being prideful and not being the best of friend to our friends. So I had that conversation last week. So,
well, I mean, hey, that's the beauty of marriage, though, right?
That's the beauty of marriage, and it's our money. Spouse. So she won the hand. So it's whatever. We both won, but I learned my lesson.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's okay. Well, I had mentioned this earlier, and I mean this when I say this, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but, out of all of my friends, you really do have, you have had more fitness journeys than anybody I've ever known. And you also probably have bought more workout plans than anybody.
Yeah, you're probably
any sale, any Black Friday sale, any kind of, 2 for 1, you're buying an ebook or you're buying a new workout plan, which I love it because I'm similar. I always, love to buy new stuff and try it out as well. But that's just something that I love about you. And if I ever want to like try a workout plan or a program, I'm just going to I'd always just text you because I just assume that you have it.
I'll send you a whole PDF.
And then most of the time you just send a PDF to me.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that probably started early college because, high school playing sports, football, baseball in high school, I always had some type of workout program, that was already set out there in front of me. But yeah, the freshman 40 hit me pretty hard. And notice I mentioned 40, not 15.
I was about to say, I don't think 40 was the number. I thought it was 15.
Yeah, but it was 40 for me.
You just felt compelled just to add 25 more pounds to that.
Yeah. My mom gave me a jump rope for Christmas freshman year. But yeah, it started in early college. I wanted, to get more, have a routine and be more consistent in the gym. So it just kind of led down this rabbit trail of trying a lot of new things out. So, there'd be a few months I'd stay consistent on one program and get kind of bored of it and then go and buy a new one.
Well,
use it for a day or two.
Well, because in college, it would be like 1 week you're cutting, the next week you're bulking, and then the next week, you're starting to run more, but then you're back to just powerlifting. But then you're going to cut again, but then you want to bulk, so you're eating cheese curds from Cookout. But you're eating cheese curds from Cookout while you're still in your cut. I just love it so much because every time we talk,
sadly nothing's changed. I've been cutting for 5 years.
You're still trying to cut your freshman 40.
Yep.
But you actually, because Sage was my guest last week, and y'all actually do work out together every day at 4:30, which I don't know if I could ever get consistent with 4:30, but I admire that you do. So I just got back from a ski trip with Sadie's family, and you guessed it, I brought my AG1 travel packs with me while we were skiing at Park City, Utah, and it helped me so much. Usually I'll take them in the morning before I go to the gym, but now I was taking them in the mornings before I went on the ski lift. And if you go from hot temperature to cold temperature, sometimes you need some immune support, and which is why I brought my AG1 with me, because I feel like I was going to need that support while I was on our ski trip. AG1 was designed with ease in mind, so you can live healthier and better without having to do a lot. And every scoop of AG1 has 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help your gut health, that help your mood, and it gives you boosted energy. Plus, it's great for your skin, your hair, your nails. It's one thing that's great for everything. And not only have I talked about AG1 on the podcast, but I also have friends in my life that have started taking AG1. My neighbor, who's a good friend of mine, has started taking it. You've heard me talk about my family, my parents. They're on it now. And I even got the guys in the duck call room hooked on it now. I know that John David takes it, so got them hooked on it now. So AG1 for me, what I feel like it helps me out the most with is it helps really improve my digestion. And I really do feel like it improves my gut health. And I do feel like it gives me more energy throughout the day, even in the mornings when I don't want to drink coffee before my workout. I feel like this gives me the energy that I need in the morning. So if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/Huff. That's athleticgreens.com/Huff. Go check it out. But you have been consistent doing Nick's program though, haven't you?
Oh yeah, Nick's program is awesome. I mean, I've been on Nick's program or his programming for about 1.5 years, probably close to 2 years. When I found out who Nick was, started doing some research into VPN, and obviously you guys have become friends. His programming has been super consistent and solid, and it's really challenging. It's a whole lot more cardio than I would typically do, and oftentimes if I don't do anything in the program, it's the cardio, or I'll just hop on the bike instead of run. But yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
well, and we get there pretty early.
I love your substitutes. Yeah, because if it's like a 5-mile run, you'll just go substitute like a stationary bike.
That's the name of the game, Christian. That's what I do.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, if it's a 5-mile run, I'll just get on the stationary bike for 5 minutes and just pump it out.
But yeah, funny story about Nick, because when I met Nick, I told him the story of me and you at the beach. Was that because that was for Jackson's bachelor trip, wasn't it? Or no, that was his wedding weekend.
That was Parker's wedding.
Yeah.
Actually.
Which, if you've been keeping up with this season of the podcast, Parker was my first guest of this season. So we had Parker's wedding, and we were down at the beach because he was getting married down there. And we went to Publix at like 8:30 in the morning. We were just getting some snacks and stuff. And Nick was there, and at that time, I was like kind of getting into fitness, but I was getting into fitness, but I wasn't really keeping up with who people were or whatever. And when you saw Nick, you were like fanboying, and I had no idea. I had no idea who the guy was. I had no idea who the guy was. And I remember we made so many jokes that whole weekend about because we got a selfie, and it was just you and him in the selfie. And when I met him, I showed him the selfie, and he thought it was hilarious.
Oh, so you weren't in the selfie? I thought you were too.
I wasn't in the selfie. No.
It's it's on my phone.
Which because I don't think he knew who I was then, and I didn't know who he was. So
yeah.
But I remember the jokes. We made the jokes about like y'all were gonna start racing on like the conveyor belt at the checkout line and act like it was a treadmill. I don't know
we did.
I don't know if you remember that.
No, I remember that.
I did. Well, I love it.
I don't know Nick. I know you know Nick, but it was cool. I've been doing his stuff for a few months. So I was like, I saw him. I was like, man, you can't miss Nick Bear.
No, no.
So we saw him, and obviously it was him. But yeah, that's kind of when the Nick Bear journey started.
He looks like he actually looks like a bear. Like, but if a bear was very vascular and had a 6-pack.
That's exactly right.
Well, share the funny story, because I would assume people that listen to this podcast would like to hunt, maybe not. But share the story from a few weeks ago. I think it might have been a few months ago at this point. But when y'all were going to the gym, when you and Sage were going to the gym and then took a detour.
Oh my gosh. It was back in August with the hog.
Oh yeah, so that was a while ago then. I thought it was
I was a 6 a.m. gym guy, and then I saw Sage at the gym one day. He was finishing up, and then he convinced me to start meeting earlier at the gym. And I agreed to do it, and we've had a blast just because it's been more time together. And he's one of my really good friends. But we got to the gym. We had leg day. We weren't happy about leg day at all. We got to the point where we put weight on the barbell to start squatting. We had just done some leg extensions and leg curls. We're about to start squatting, and Sage gets an alert on his game camera, and he looks at it, and there are a ton of hogs down at this place in Macon County, which Macon County, for the listeners, is about 20 minutes from Auburn. So immediately we stopped working out, and we didn't even take the weight off of the barbell. We just left it for whoever else was coming. And we immediately left and got in this truck and drove down I mean, Sage has his souped up AR-15. I mean, it has a camera on it. Like, we recorded the whole thing. And yeah, I mean, we went in there. I really wanted to kill a hog. I'd killed a hog before, but I mean, just the adrenaline of thinking I was going to work out. And then it was actually a pretty chilly morning for being August. So I'm in these Lulu gym shorts, gym shirt, and we're creeping up on these hogs. I mean, it's not even, we had a thermal on the scope. It wasn't even daylight yet. And then I shot one hog.
Because you sent that picture to my workout group, and I just thought it was the funniest thing because y'all had actually started your workout and then left the gym to go shoot a hog. It just made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, that was it for that day, and then we didn't finish the workout, and we just moved on to. We moved on and just skipped legs that week, but it was worth it to get shit a hog.
You could have done a leg workout with the hogs. I mean, you could have.
You could have done
something.
They're nasty, man.
Yeah, they're gross. Yeah, they're bad. But y'all could have found something to do out in the woods, or clean a log, or front squat a log, or back squat a log, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't understand how I mean, I do understand you work really hard at it, but the amount of weight you can front squat, I mean, it blows me away. I feel like every vertebrae in my back would shoot out of my back if I front squatted as much as
I used to not be good at front squat, and then I started just doing it more, but it's actually become one of like my favorite lifts. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But no,
that's how I felt with pull-ups.
If I don't wear a belt front squat, it kills me.
Yeah.
Yes, Sage is saying you can do like 30 pull-ups now, like in a row.
Man, our goal's been to do 103 sets. That's the kind of a goal we set
That's
out.
what he was saying.
Yeah. So the more I eat donuts, it helps.
The donuts are just going to hinder you.
Yeah. Or, I mean, the way I look at it, instead of having to tie to do weighted pull-ups with a 45-pound plate, I just eat more donuts and pack some more weight on. And
have you been doing weighted pull-ups or just strict no weight pull-ups, body weight?
We mix it up. I mean, obviously when we go to volume, we don't do weighted, but we mix weighted in there.
Yeah. No, weighted pull-ups are like top 3, my favorite exercise.
Yeah, I feel like Sage and I had this conversation, but pull-ups, push-ups, and air squats never get easier. I mean, it doesn't matter how strong you get.
No.
They never get any easier. So that's something we've been challenging ourselves with, is trying to be able to do more pull-ups.
They really don't. Well, yeah, because I mean, like you said, if you used to be on the 6 a.m. club, and then now you got convinced to do the 4:30 club, which more power to you. I couldn't do that. But how do you feel like, because you are a disciplined person, but I feel like, in the past, even throughout college, I feel like sometimes maybe you could possibly like lack discipline just with, gym stuff and fitness stuff. So how do you feel like you're in a spot now where you become more disciplined with it? And because I know Sage said he bumped his time, from 6 to 4:30 to have a quiet time in before work. How do you feel like you've been able to stay disciplined doing that consistently? Well, first of all, I was convicted of being inconsistent in different seasons of being disciplined. I would have a spurt where I'd be disciplined for, in some way, shape, or form, for a month, 2 months, or whatever, and then I'd fall off. So I was really convicted in the lack of consistency in my discipline. Yeah. So, I mean, really, it just, I started praying about it just through, and this isn't just about working out, but also just in spending time with the Lord and being inconsistent in other things as well. So started just with praying to be more disciplined in all areas of my life. Like I wanted that to be something, I wanted that to be a characteristic of myself, was to be a disciplined man. But bumping up to 4:30 has totally, I mean, it's given me so much time in the morning, and I'm a morning person. I always have been a morning person, even growing up. But when I was working out at 6 a.m., I'd work out for an hour 15 minutes, and I'd try to be at work by 7:45, 8, which gave me really no window to spend time with the Lord. So I was either rushing through my time with the Lord, or, and if I was spending time with the Lord before I worked out, I wasn't really awake or alert to really retain what I was studying. So bumping up to 4:30 is definitely giving me a more consistent routine in the morning, where I go to the gym, working out, really waking up, and then I come home, and I usually have about an hour before I go to work. So
turn the coffee pot on, make some coffee, and then sit down and open God's word and just start studying and spend time with him.
How do you feel like the 4:30 club's going to pivot when y'all start having kids?
Oh, dude, it's not going to happen.
At that point, you just need to build a home gym.
See, I mean, seriously. I mean, that'd be ideal. I mean, to have a home gym at that point. I mean, I love getting up early. I mean, but at that point when we have children and we're working through sleeping through the night. I mean, waking up at 4:30 to go to the gym probably won't be the priority at that point. So I still want to make. I mean, obviously, I still want to make time for it and be consistent in that way. But
because it really does change. I mean, like at least right from the. I mean, Honey still doesn't sleep very well. So I mean, we're still. I mean, it's kind of funny because we're next month we're having our next, and it's like we still haven't really fully got back to sleeping because Honey is still so sporadic. I mean, one night she could sleep awesome, then the next night she's up 3 times throughout the night wanting a bottle, and it's like, why is this still happening? But yeah, especially even from the get go. I mean, granted, I'm not really a morning person. But yeah, getting up and training early in the morning after having a kid, I don't think I could have done it. I had to make time throughout the day, and which I know that with your job that kind of limits that to an extent. So I think you're going to end up having to build a home gym.
That may be the case. Every now and then, I mean, lunch works out to be a good time. I can just go for an hour during lunch, but typically I like to meet with people during lunch,
Yeah.
And I like to eat, so.
That's true. Well, then you could just start inviting people to the gym, and that could be your time with people.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe a home gym also. It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. Well, I want to kind of end with, talking about, things that you are specifically praying for. Because I know that when we were texting the other day, you kind of mentioned some stuff just with humility and like we had talked about earlier, just contentment and comfortability. So kind of what are some things that you are, praying for right now, believing for right now that you want to see God do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the overarching prayer I have over my life is that I would be a good steward of what God has given me. God is without a doubt, he's blessed me in so many different ways, and he's blessed Claire and I's marriage in so many wonderful ways too. And we just want to be good stewards of what he's given us, and we want him to be glorified in our lives and in the posture of our hearts. I mean, we want God to be glorified, and we want his love to be evident in how we live and how we pursue the many endeavors that he's given us to steward well. So that's really the main thing. I mean, whether it be in my marriage and how I pursue Claire, whether it be in business and how I'm communicating and how I'm going about my work, especially, I just want to be a good steward of what God has given me. And I don't want to waste the opportunities that he's given me in selfish ways because of my own sinful fleshly desires. I want God to be elevated. I want him to increase, and I want myself to decrease. Yeah. And that comes with a lot of prayer. It is something I'm convicted of often. I mean, the Lord will definitely reveal areas of my life where he is not being elevated, where I am being elevated in situations and conversations and such. So just really praying that I would be a good steward of what he's given me and that he'd be glorified.
Yeah, that's so good. I was listening to a message from Matt Chandler yesterday, and he kind of was talking about that idea, but it was so interesting and so clear because I've never really, I've thought about it like this, but never really just kind of heard someone explain it. But he was just kind of using this example of if he met someone in the church lobby and he just wanted to gift them $5 million. And he was like, you can spend, a portion of it on yourself, on whatever you want, a car, or, he made a joke of like essential oils, or, fix up something in your house. Like you can spend it on yourself. And he said, then the rest, you have to give it away, to someone in need, or give it away to an organization or to a charity or something like that. So, spend a portion of it on yourself and then give the rest away to someone else. And It was just the idea of that person wouldn't be like, how dare you make me give the rest away? because, I gifted it to you. But it's like we do that with God. If God, blesses us or in whatever way materially, we could look at it that way. We're so hesitant to tithe and to give it back because we feel like we've earned it, when in reality, He's the one that's blessed us with it. And there's just it was just so clear of like picturing, you gifting someone money, then them being offended that you wanted to, you wanted them to give some of it away when that was what when that was the purpose of it, and then think about it with God. If God blesses us, how we can be so stingy with it, and instead of giving it back because He's gifted it to us, and it's not ours in the first place, it's His to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, He has given us all things, and I'll find myself in my flesh trying to justify something being of my accord and because of things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And God is, just in the ability to work, like God has given me the ability to work. He's given me the ability to speak. He's given me the wisdom through His word that I have. Every good thing that I am is because of Jesus. And it's not of my own accord at all. So, and that's something that I find myself being convicted of, but also it's really humbling knowing that everything I have is because of Jesus.
Yeah.
And prayerfully, through the truth of that, my heart will be postured in a way of humility, in a way of giving all glory to Him in all circumstances.
That's so good. That's so good. Brad, I loved our conversation, man. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. This was super fun. This was awesome. I really think this is going to help people.
Well, hey, I'm encouraged by you and your faith, and I really appreciate you having me on the podcast.
I'm encouraged by you, man.
Pray that God is glorified through our conversation today. I can't wait to catch up soon.
Love you, dude. Thanks for joining me.
You're the man. I'll talk to you.
All right, bye.